particular with San Diego Wave and Inter Miami. So we have Jody Gilbert, head of CRM for San Diego Wave. And also we have Ephraim Perez from Inter Miami, who's spearheading the club leverages ticketing data and driving ticket sales to the next level. After this, we're gonna have also an open Q&A. So this is gonna be an interactive session. So we encourage you everyone to participate. So now I'll give the floor to Edward. Please go ahead.
All right. Can everybody hear me? Okay. You can go a couple of slides forward now that we've done the introductions, but thank you, Diego, for the introduction. My name is Edward Meekins. I'm the Chief Strategy Officer here at Cogny. Today is going to be an exciting conversation about digital transformations. And you can go to the next slide. Perfect. It's coming through. Okay. So today I have Jody and Ephraim with me, two of our clients here at Cogny, to share their own personal stories on their digital transformation journey working with us. And in terms of why we're here today, let's just get into the sport. Me personally, I grew up playing American football from age 6 all the way through college. I didn't realize the differences between sports until I went to my first game. This visual in the background is actually my first game. I went to Camp Nou during my study abroad in Barcelona. It was a Sunday. There were 100,000 fans in Camp Nou watching Messi score this goal here, and I just got goosebumps even talking about it. It's a real thing. One of our clients at Orlando City said this, that it's football and it's everything else, and it's real. I think number 2 behind football is like 40% behind in terms of fan viewership. So one could argue that the game could sell itself because you have passionate fans all over the globe following the sport. You can go to the next slide. For today, we're going to talk about what happens beyond the field because it takes a lot of work to make those games engaging, exciting. There are a lot of different processes and operations in the front office with third parties. And in terms of making things more efficient and better for the fan, there are a few steps that we'll walk through. Now, when you go to the next slide, we're going to talk about different relationships when it comes to data. Now, there's this power struggle between third-party vendors, between different departments within the front office. Essentially, everyone's doing their own thing. And part of this is by design. Front offices aren't responsible for being ticket providers. You leave that to the ticketing company. You have merchandise companies helping to sell new kits, hospitality trying to sell, different suite packages and VIP seating, and they all have different objectives. Now, this inherently creates a bit of a disconnect. And as you go through the different animations, you start to see different front office operations blended in here. Now, assuming that this is, a front office representation of third parties and front office staff alike, you're hoping that some of that data might be stored in a data warehouse, which is good. You're hoping to analyze some of these data points to have a better and more robust experience for fans, and ultimately to monetize on that passion that we just saw earlier. Now, going through, you can continue the slide. Going through these different steps of trying to manage, season ticket members, for example. Imagine they open a case, and imagine that, the sales team sends a message out trying to sell a different suite package. And then you have the marketing team sending a campaign because they didn't talk to each other. So you're getting all these notifications from different departments, all trying to do their own individual things. And ultimately, this leads to a disconnected experience for the fan, and ultimately less money. So you can imagine attending a game, a fan might get, a hot dog, a beer, maybe snacks. How much of an opportunity is it when you have a fan that has a personalized experience compared to the latter? Now, we talked about having these different operations happening in silos, independently. Ticket provider has certain data points. Merchandise partner may have other transactions in their own system. But ultimately, when you have all of these data points disconnected, there are side effects. There are inefficiencies. There's a delay in real-time data if you do have them integrated. And ultimately, you want to focus on seizing the opportunity to have a better experience for your fans and ultimately to organically generate more revenue based on their own behaviors. So you go to the next slide, and we're going to cover an introduction for this conversation today. But ultimately, we can do more to bring all of these different fan behaviors and interactions into one place. So imagine, as a front office, you have sponsors to worry about who spend a lot of money to have these interactions with these fans, whether it's exposure or engagement. Fans are expecting a great experience, and it's not just the game, but having a personalized experience that makes them want to come back, having personalized discounts and offers because they've been coming to the stadium for 4 years now, spending a lot of money as a season ticket member, and they have expectations, for example. And then the club, there are specific data points from fans and sponsors that can help the front office do their job more efficiently. If you have the data at your disposal, you have levers to be able to pull. Now, in terms of approach, it's our philosophy at Cogny to use an ecosystem approach, to have all of these different interactions and transactions in one place to better understand how fans are behaving and how to meet them where they are. Now, you can go to the next slide, and I'm going to explain how we're going to make the data work for us instead of the other way around. Today, we have Jody and we have Ephraim, two thought leaders in the industry. And, I'm going to take a pause and let them tell their story about how they entered their current situation and what they were experiencing. You can go to the next slide. So you have two expansion teams. You have quick success on the field. You have some of the most popular players in the world on the men's and women's side. And life is good, right? You're winning, you're popular. I believe San Diego Wave's attendance was on par with one of our other clients, Orlando City SC, in terms of stadium attendance, which is unheard of in terms of NWSL attendance. And, on the field, things are going really well. Now, if you go to the next slide, we're going to transition into a different part of this, is what's happening off this field. What is happening behind the scenes? So, Jody, talk to me. How are we doing?
Hi.
All right.
We're working. Nice to see you guys. So I'm Jody. I am head of CRM here with the San Diego Wave. I've been with the organization for 8 months now. I came from a background in the NFL, so the switch from NFL to NWSL has been quite an interesting move, especially in the world of data and analytics, and how do we do that in the world of women's sports. Mm-hmm. I came to the team with the idea of really trying to enhance their marketing analytics, build off what they have, see what they have, and see where we can grow from there. But very quickly, I realized we had a lot of areas of opportunities from a business intelligence standpoint as a whole. There were a lot of changes we could have made with our technology on how do we start to bring all the different data between all the different departments together. A lot of my work there when I first came on was extremely manual. Every department had Excel sheets that they were kind of working off, and there was no collaboration. I had no idea what's going on in the sponsorship world to this day. And the sponsorship world might have no idea what we're doing on the marketing side to this day. And that was a big thing that I really wanted to bring to the organization, especially coming from such a robust analytics team with my previous position. So my biggest question I wanted to bring into the San Diego Wave is how do we become a more data-driven organization as a whole?
So let's get into that. Let's talk about your thought process. Now, you had some decisions to make once you got there. I think your second week, you ended up meeting the Cogny team.
Yeah.
Walk us through your mental exercise as you entered that space to make some changes and make some decisions.
Yeah, so really top 3 questions, as you guys can see, was first of where are we going to centralize these data? We have all these Excel sheets, where they're all going to live. Once we kind of figure that out, what are we going to do with it to continue to engage our fan base, and how are we going to really track the process that we're going to go through? So those were my big 3 questions I had coming in. So the team about a week prior to me officially starting, they kind of also had these same similar questions that they had, and ended up choosing Salesforce as our new ESP and CRM platform, mainly just because it is such a powerhouse in the world of sports and entertainment, as well as our ticketing partner is Ticketmaster, and that integration made things very seamless with the team. From there, none of us had a background in implementation, and how do we kind of get such a big platform like this up and running to work for what our needs are. So out of a few recommendations, we were able to work with you guys at Cogny for that.
We appreciate that partnership. So let's get current. You've been there for 8 months now. You've got a chance to work with the Cogny team. How are things going now compared to when you first started?
Now it's a tremendous difference on our front office side. We're able to capture KPIs that we had no clue where we were at before. So our first project that we worked on with Cogny was integrating our biggest source of revenue, ticketing. So our ticketing and marketing teams are now integrated, working cohesively as one. And we have seen tremendous improvements on both sides, from our ticketing team and how their workflows and automations and how they're becoming more efficient in their day-to-day work, as well as our marketing KPIs and using a lot of the data that we're grabbing from ticketing for our segmentations, custom-made journeys, to really improve that individualized and personalized experience from there.
Okay, let's get a little granular. So go to the next slide. Let's walk through in terms of how you started to that KPI slide, because I love the numbers, but let's get a little bit more specific. Now go to the next slide. I think you organized this in 3 different parts and stages, right? So talk to me about how you centralize the data using Salesforce CRM.
Yeah, so my biggest project, my biggest need coming in here is that customer 360 view. How do we build that now, and how do we continue to build that in the future? So that's the number one thing I walk into the office every single day is like, all right, how do we expand on this? So we were able to start to build that within ticketing and marketing, our ticketing and marketing data within our Sales Cloud, creating a unified profile that then allows one single screen that we can see what our fan base is doing, at least on a marketing aspect and a ticketing aspect, so then our reps can really utilize that data when they're trying to upsell and maintain relationships with our current fan base. So having that centralized allowed us to really start to streamline our processes in our day-to-day work environment. Our reps are we are gaining about 600 new leads a month now. And our reps are really skyrocketing through that, kind of picking through the leads, turning them into opportunities. We have a lot more automations running on our marketing side, so even they can be more efficient and not constantly having to email, call every single day. They can work on continuing to bring in those new leads. And as they're doing that, and I'm kind of helping them on the back end on the Sales Cloud, I'm also really focused on the marketing side of how do we use this data that's coming in, the data that they're collecting, and engaging our users. So we've already had an email program prior to when I started, so I kind of worked on just optimizing that a little bit, but I also worked on starting our first SMS program, and how do we use that to continue to engage with our fans and also bring in revenue for our ticketing side too, as another way of communicating a little bit more personalized touch from there.
Okay. So we have a visual representation of this 360 view. Walk us through how you're now taking the data and helping it work for you.
Yeah, so this is currently where our CRM is at. So again, prior to starting, we were utilizing another CRM platform. And a big thing was, as we integrated into Salesforce, we want to make sure that we're keeping our old data and also matching it with the new data that we have coming through. So we were able to really work with Cogny and harmonizing a lot of the stuff that's coming in. So despite emails, different differentiations, it's all coming in as one account. If I'm Jody Gilbert and I signed in through HubSpot versus through, and I also bought a ticket while we were with, Salesforce, we are still there. On top of that, just also being able to see from our ticketing perspective, where are fans are buying tickets? Are they season ticket members? Are they single game members? Have they attended a game? And also not just that, but also being able to calculate or track, are they forwarding their tickets and bringing and syncing those forwards as another association to our accounts, and also as a new lead or opportunity that our reps can utilize too. So being able to have that data harmonized has helped our team tremendously there.
I love this. We all know that some season ticket members are not created equal. Some don't show up to the games. Some try to create a side business and sell their tickets on the secondary market. And now you have traceability. So you took this data and you're now streamlining your processes. Now walk us through what this visual is representing here.
So this is basically what our reps will see on their side of when they kind of open in. So previously, our reps would be in maybe about 5 different platforms throughout an entire day. We had Ticketmaster, Artix, Aircall, obviously the HubSpots, all the different platforms. So now they're able to just log into their Salesforce account and be able to understand the fan in one singular screen, plus complete all their tasks through this screen, whether it's their phone calls that they're making through AirCall, their emails that they're sending out. Everything is done through Salesforce for the most part, and being able to just track and continue to engage those relationships in one side.
And so now, since you started, it sounds as though your marketing campaign effectiveness has gone up. Walk us through how you're changing the way that you work now that you have the data, and you're doing this through, I believe, context rather than manually manipulating the data.
Yes. So now that we have the data to see on a marketing side where we're growing, what's going on, we have been able to obviously our sense of deliveries have improved by over 900%. A lot of that has to do with the integration that we now have a lot more marketing contacts that we're able to utilize there. Bounce rates has dropped. We're able to utilize when's the best time to send our emails for the best engagements. Segmentations has been very, very important to us, especially in this off season, and continuing to grow those numbers tremendously that we were at before.
All right, let's talk about the fun stuff. So now you have a foundation and you're preparing for next season. What is next for you?
Continuing to build that 360 view. Like I said, as a whole, I cover a lot of our San Diego's business intelligence as a whole, so not just marketing and ticketing anymore, but in how do we get merchandise involved? How do we get sponsorship involved and community and all the other departments bring in their data, have that viewpoint, and really start to really start to improve our engagement with them. So that's the number one next big steps, focusing on merch first. On top of that, using this data for the fan experience as a whole. So the goal is to bring in some automations around our SMS program, game day chat bots. So hopefully all those 3 things will be done by the end of the 2025 season.
Remind me, you have a couple of international players, right?
Yes.
And so now you're going to likely be able to tap into additional markets outside of San Diego.
Yes, we have really been marketing a lot within the states right now. But this past season, we did sign, I want to say maybe about 3 international players. 1 from Mexico, 2 from France, and I've been working a lot on how do we start to utilize those international players and their fan base and bring them into ours, even though they might not be able to attend the game, but a lot of that has to do with merch. So we're really hoping to, get that merch data in. We did open up our shipping, so that we can now do international shipping. So that has been tremendous on our merchandising side. But again, we don't currently have all that KPI, so that's where we're trying to get that 360 view in. And also our marketing aspects between not just providing SMS, but how can we grow into WhatsApp, getting and those compliance and things there.
I love this. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thanks.
Did you want to take over?
Yes, thank you, Jody. Excellent. So now let's talk about Inter Miami's case. We have Ephraim.
Oh, thank you. And thank you everyone for joining the panel today. I know the post-lunch panel is usually pretty tough, especially when you're talking about exciting things like data, right? So if we can just jump right into the next slide here. I joined Inter Miami in March of 2023, and basically what we found was there was a lot of opportunity, and I knew this going in to the role was all the opportunities to capture more customer data, to leverage activate that data, to leverage our CRM platform and really maximize it to its fullest. Unlike San Diego, we had the tools and platforms in place, but a tool is only as good as the person that's using it. So it's like having a lot of high-performance vehicles, but you don't have the drivers. And for us, it was really how do we make these platforms and solutions work cohesively as one unit for us to provide the best possible fan experience and to grow our fan base and ultimately put people in the stadium and have them coming back game after game. So in the next slide, you'll see a visual representation of kind of how everything worked out. We had the Marketing Cloud from Salesforce. We had Sales Cloud from Salesforce. We used Ticketmaster. So a lot of industry leaders in this space, but there was a bottleneck, choke point when it came to actually accessing this data and being able to use it, which leads to a lot of frustration, not only with our senior leadership, but also with our fans, because as Edward mentioned earlier, you have a sales and marketing strategy that's not cohesive and conflicts a lot, oftentimes. So if we go to the next slide, you'll see kind of the restructured data model that we implemented. And we started with our low-hanging fruit. So we looked at ticketing as our top priority to tackle first. And we leveraged Cogny's Ticket Connector solution to basically get our Ticketmaster customer data, purchase history, attendance data, get that flowing into Salesforce in basically real time, so that we can then start to activate against that data, organize it, and use it from a sales perspective to drive revenue and to sell tickets, but then also connecting that and aligning that with our marketing tool so that we can better communicate with our fans. We can customize and personalize these touch points in a much more nimble manner than we were prior to this. Next slide. And all of this was basically served as our proof of concept for having a data-driven culture within the organization. And again, you have to remember that these clubs are very, very young, and there's not a lot of existing institutional data that you can rely on. So this is a very important key point for this entire project that we worked on. Next slide. Here you'll see some of the results that we've had. And coincidentally enough, you have a lot of 8s here, so I know we're in a casino, so I don't know if that means anything, but
it's good luck.
Yeah, exactly. We had a record, not only did we have a record-breaking season on the field, but we also had record-breaking season ticket sales, or ticketing from a ticketing perspective, had the highest renewal in club history, had the largest season ticket member base in club history, and the largest attendance in club history in 2024. But we also were able to create these efficiencies with our marketing automation platform, as well as driving new sales opportunities as well. It's not always like the consumer and fan data, but there's also B2B practices as well that we need to focus on when we're talking about selling the higher end products like luxury suites and loges. And those businesses don't necessarily it's not necessarily what's on the field that's driving their decision making. It's how much value they can get. Next slide. So again, similar to San Diego, how did we get here? I think there's another visualization. Yep. So basically, it started with creating this ecosystem. That's our foundation of how we're going to, again, organize the data, where it's going to live, how do our stakeholders interact with that data, and then the next step after that is leveraging the AI to scale. Again, a lot of sports team front offices have very lean staffs, and you can't always get to everything all at once when you need to. These matches have dates and schedules, and everything's time sensitive. So it's important that you can move quickly. And then ultimately, again, it's our engagement. So it's how do we interact with our fans? Next slide. So this is just, again, a visual schematic of our multi-channel campaigns and one-to-one. Again, it started with building out these fan profiles, tracking our touch points, leveraging our ticketing data. We have other, again, Fan 360 was used here. We have other data points that we're using to create that single pane of glass view of our fans. But most importantly, and I talked about the scalability, it's how do our sales reps have less clicks and less windows? And if it's too complicated, they're not going to use it, and you're basically just throwing your money away. So how do we get that adoption? We get it by making the system easier, and we get it by making the system work for the reps. So again, we're using different touch points. We're leveraging our marketing cloud. And then on the fan-facing side, yeah, it's okay. You can go to the next slide. On the fan-facing side, we're really focusing on our match day journey. This is one that we're really keen on. We want to make sure that we're getting pre-match communication. So when someone buys a ticket, that person's information is now going into a segmentation strategy where we're sending them all the information they need to know. For us, we had a lot of first-year fans, and they had never been to Chase Stadium before. So what gate do they enter from? What benefits do their tickets come with? Because not all tickets are the same. Once they get to the stadium, where do they go? What concession stands can they go to for food and beverage? Where do they get their wristbands if they're in a premium area? Things like that. And then we close the loop with the post-game feedback. So we'll send out surveys to kind of grade ourselves a bit, and really getting that information from the attendees is important. So again, how did we do on food and beverage? How did we do in cleanliness and in overall stadium experience? Were the bathrooms, did they not have enough paper towels? Things like that. Actionable data that we can then use to do better the next time. And then again, it's just a process that reiterates itself over and over again for us to ultimately improve the fan experience. Next slide. And again, this is kind of just the methodology behind it, right? So we have the primary goal, again, help the fans have the best possible experience. We have our audience, so our ticket holders, season ticket member and single game and group holders alike. We have other fans, maybe ticket transfers, things like that. And then our objective is to make sure that we're improving this fan experience and putting the best product out there, because ultimately you can get a customer once, but really you unlock the power when they're coming again and again and over and over. So next slide. And then next step. So now that we're kind of done with this phase one, we're entering phase two. It's again creating that scalability, driving that data-driven culture to make decisions and recommendations. We're able to measure things and see how we're doing and grade ourselves. And then again, it's just at the end of the day, it's about the fan and boosting retention, boosting fan loyalty, and driving revenue. Without the revenue piece does not come without the fans. And at the end of the day, this is what it's all. The fans are what it's all about, and we're not able to do that if we're not leveraging all these available tools as best as possible.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing this. I wanted to go to the next slide, and what you heard today was two individual stories, and we've been working with Inter Miami longer than San Diego Wave, but they're both getting success on and off the field, and these two thought leaders are driving that. So first, I want to thank you guys. Go to the next slide, and I want to transition to how do you do this? How do you do this fast? How do you get the easy wins, the early wins? In terms of doing this digital transformation journey, go to the next slide. What Cogny does is we work solely in sports and entertainment for a reason. When we started this, we were on the implementation side of with a front office in Orlando, identifying all these pain points that you saw today. And since then, we have grown in people, in specialization, and in terms of our front office expertise. So we're not just a product company, we're not just a service company. We're on both the App Exchange and we're also ISV partners. So in terms of value and getting these types of transformations up and running, we've worked with both of these clubs individually to help them on their journey with products and services to help them get these outcomes. And in terms of how we move forward and all of these exciting things that come next, it doesn't come without having the people. And our people at Cogny have now, I think, over 90 certifications within Salesforce CRM. And that specialization helps in many ways. And I'll give you one example. With ticketing, you had mentioned ticketing with Ticketmaster. There are technical people on our team that are brilliant enough to help us be the first company to natively integrate multiple ticketing companies within Salesforce CRM in near real time. So it's not just Ticketmaster, but it's also tickets.com. It's also SeatGeek. It's also Secutix, who's here today. And that's just an example of listening, because each front office operates differently, and also learning more about what we can do better. So we did want to give some time for questions within the audience, but before we do, in terms of just some feedback from you both, you both have some different relationships when it comes to your club and MLS, and your club and NWSL. Explain to us the nuances behind how you interact with the league itself.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, for us, we've met with the league and we've had some good support. At least during the time that I've been with the club, we've talked about different data points that we can bring into our ecosystem, merchandise data, fan demographic data. So in that sense, they've been a good partner. And also with some of our tools are actually curated at the league level. So
I see.
Marketing Cloud, for example, is one that is administered at the league level. Each club has their own respective business unit, and we're able to work within that kind of bunker. But it's good because it allows clubs to scale the tools that they use to engage with fans.
And how about you, Jody?
I would say at the NWSL levels, and I think a lot when it comes to a lot of women's sports teams, data and analytics is growing. It's a growing space in our world. So for currently, when it comes to how we operate as a team, on a club level, we are working through that on our own devices right now. So we don't have that centralized, everybody's on Salesforce Marketing Cloud, everybody's using the same website, everybody's using that. We're kind of learning and growing and figuring out what works best for the team. So we have a lot of independencies on that side. And the same thing when it comes to data and our analytic strategies there. All the data that we pull in, we have to go and, it's very grassroots, it's very startup-y, where we're kind of going out and find that on our own and learning how to build that out through our own systems currently. But it is growing at a league level. I know they're trying to build that program out a lot higher there.
Okay. Next question. You both work with the Cogny team a little differently, and you have some similarities. We mentioned connecting Ticketmaster data in near real time. In terms of products and services and your future growth, how How efficient is it to have the same team do both, to help you on the CRM side and also help you do the services side? What is that experience like for you?
You wanna?
You can start trying to process.
All right, I'll go first. I mean, for us, it's really just like having our own in-house kind of development team. It takes a lot of investment with technology, and everyone in the room knows that the bills can pile up really fast when you're adding on a lot of bells and whistles. And Cogny's been a really good partner in that respect. For us, we don't look at it like a cost. We look at it as an investment. We look at it as an investment in our club, in our sales and service and marketing team, and our fans as well. And those investments are paying dividends down the road, because we had a very big moment that doesn't happen too often in any sports. I've been doing this for a while now, and it's a really kind of once in a career type of situation, and we were ready to capitalize on that because of the work that was done by the Cogny team.
Jody, did you have any thoughts?
I would say, in just small in the grand scheme of things, like Cogny, I see you guys as part of my team. Like, I would not have been able to build what we had, even though we're in the starter grounds. We're just starting truly running and operating everything, I want to say back in May. We would not be where we are today without you guys' support and help throughout the way. So you're more a part of the team than like a service or something that we are hiring and just trying to get part of the job.
Thank you for the feedback. We wanted to open things for questions. You can use the QR code. You can raise your hand. Whatever.
Yeah, we have a few microphones around that we can pass. So, yeah, with 4 minutes left, any questions from the audience that you would like to ask our speakers?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with basically knowledge building. There has been a lot of pushback on my side when it comes to implementing something as Salesforce because of the budgeting, especially and newer technology and new ways to structure our data as we continue to grow. And a lot of we're still overcoming a lot of things, but a lot of it is really built with being able to sit down individually with each department, show what we already have done on the marketing ticketing side, really teach them the behind the scenes of what it takes to build that and where it's going currently and where it's going to go later, and then really demo that out within the other departments too. So I would say it's a lot of just hand-holding and talking through all the different departments, leadership of why this, even though it might seem like a lot of money right now, it's not like a money draining thing. This is an investment for the overall better of the organization.
That's a good question.
Any other questions? Yeah.
You guys talked about building gameplay culture as well as your experience as well as traceability. Now I was wondering if kind of in the data that you're collecting, you guys are able to look at or use things like location of purchase and like trying to build an atmosphere. I think a lot of what soccer is used to be. When I go to a game, like, it's just such a great atmosphere, and trying to build that game experience for you to be able to improve that environment.
Yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, that's pretty spot on in terms of like what our goal is. One specific example that we're looking at for our club is we're in a temporary home and we're looking to have a new stadium that's in Miami proper. And what we want to find out is, well, how many season ticket members do we have in Broward County versus Miami-Dade County and beyond? And is that going to impact how many of our fans are, what's going to be the impact to those fans that will inevitably become displaced? And how can we still market to them? How can we still engage with them? Is it a different product offering, right? Maybe you can't make it to all 17 games now, but maybe you can make it to some of the games or things like that. So that's definitely data that we're trying to uncover as we go through this evolution within our club.
And I would say on our side, we do utilize a lot of that location data in specifically for our partners and where we're hosting our watch parties when we do go for away games. So every away game that we do this, we'll have a watch party at one of the partner locations, which is spread out all across San Diego. But which location that we choose has a lot to do with where our ticket holders are. Most of our ticket holders are living.
What's from a sales rep's perspective? What's something that you wish that sales reps appreciated more about your site?
I mean, from my perspective, running these platforms over the years, I always take a frictionless kind of mindset. I want to make it as easy for a sales rep or a service rep to interact with a customer or a lead or an opportunity and close deals and drive revenue. And I wanted to be understood and very clear that we're not a hindrance to putting fans in the building and driving the business forward. So that's something that I don't know if it's appreciated or not, but it's definitely something that drives the mindset.
Awesome. We have one last question because we'll wrap it up soon. Yeah.
We have thought about it on our side, not fully ready to go into that area yet. But I've worked a lot with qualitative data in the past, and I think it's just extremely helpful when building out that fan profile and really understanding who's a stay-at-home fan versus an in-game fan, and how do we best market to them. But I know we're currently not there at the San Diego Wave yet.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again. A big round of applause for Ephraim, Jody, and Edward for sharing all their insights. And thank you for being here. So we're going to wrap up the session, but also feel free to ask any of our panelists after this session if you have any more questions. So thank you.